If you ever felt like the story of history is just this simple, straight line, from cavemen to computers, well, today we're going to blow that timeline wide open. We're going to dive in and uncover some ancient civilizations that were so advanced they challenge pretty much everything we thought we knew about the past.
I mean, we all learned this in school, right? It's the standard progression. You start with so-called primitive societies, then you get the first empires, you hit the classical age with Greece and Rome, and then it's a steady march right on up to the modern era. It's all very neat, very tidy, and super linear. But is it really the whole story? What if that neat, tidy version is leaving out some of the most mind-blowing chapters? What if human ingenuity didn't just march forward in a straight line, but actually exploded in these brilliant, totally unexpected ways all over the globe thousands of years ago?
And that's really the heart of what we're exploring today. When you actually start digging into the past, literally, you find that so many ancient peoples were far more sophisticated than we ever give them credit for. They were brilliant engineers, scientists, and planners whose achievements, well, they still have researchers scratching their heads today.
Okay, so let's kick things off with one of the biggest signs of a complex society, the city. Some ancient civilizations weren't just building settlements. No. They were designing and engineering urban centers that were truly, and I mean truly, ahead of their time.
First up, let's talk about the Indus Valley Civilization, sometimes called the Harappans. These guys were flourishing over 4,500 years ago. Now, they're often just a little footnote compared to their famous neighbors in Egypt and Mesopotamia. But, as you're about to see, their cities tell a story of sophistication that is just wow.
Okay, this is where it gets absolutely wild. Look at this comparison. The Harappans had covered sewers running under their streets, safely channeling wastewater out of the city. We are talking about an advanced sanitation system nearly 4,000 years before many medieval European towns were still just dumping their waste into open gutters in the street. I mean, just let that sink in. It's staggering.
And it wasn't just the plumbing. Their cities were laid out on these incredibly precise grids. They used standardized bricks, which suggests some kind of centralized production and quality control. And here's a really fascinating detail. Archaeologists find almost no weapons and very little evidence of big conflicts. This suggests they might have built this huge, complex society organized around trade and public well-being, not constant warfare. All right, let's jump across the globe now and thousands of years forward to North America, where another incredible urban center was thriving long before any Europeans showed up. This was the city of Cahokia, right near modern-day St. Louis. Around the year 1100, it was this bustling hub of trade, culture, everything. But here's the kicker. At its peak, with tens of thousands of people living there, Cahokia was bigger than London was at the exact same time. This was a true American metropolis, thriving centuries before Columbus ever set sail.
Building massive cities is one thing, for sure. But what about thriving in places that seem completely impossible to live in? Let's move on and look at how some ancient civilizations engineered these incredible solutions to survive and even prosper against all odds.
So picture the bone-dried deserts of what is now Jordan. A civilization called the Nabataeans built their incredible capital city, Petra, carving it right into these red rock cliffs. But their secret to survival in such a harsh place wasn't just their amazing art. It was pure engineering genius.
They were absolute masters of water. I mean, look at this. They created this incredibly complex system to capture every single precious drop. They built dams to catch rare flash floods, funneled all that water through a network of aqueducts and channels, and then stored it in these huge underground cisterns. This system gave them a stable water supply for tens of thousands of people, turning a barren desert into a booming center of trade.
Staying with these incredible feats, let's travel down to Africa, to a kingdom that often lives in the shadow of ancient Egypt, but whose accomplishments were every bit as remarkable, the Kingdom of Kush.
When you think of pyramids, you automatically think of Egypt, right? Well, get this. The Kushites, who were located in modern-day Sudan, actually built more pyramids than the Egyptians did. And this chart just brilliantly shows their own distinct style. Their pyramids were much steeper and narrower. This was their own unique architectural tradition that they developed.
And they weren't just amazing builders. The Kushites were also pioneers in technology. The city of Meroe became a massive center for ironworking, and there's evidence that they were among the first civilizations to master large-scale iron production, using furnaces that were unbelievably advanced for their time.
Okay, so far we've seen towering structures and ingenious engineering.
But ancient genius wasn't just about what people built, it was also about what they knew, the incredibly complex systems of knowledge they developed to understand and navigate their world.
Way before Columbus or Magellan, one group of people had already completely mastered long-distance ocean travel, the Polynesian navigators. We're talking about settling a huge triangle of the Pacific Ocean, an area larger than North America, in nothing more than voyaging canoes. It's just incredible.
So how on earth did they do it? Not with a compass, not with a map. They did it with this, an amazing toolkit of pure knowledge. They navigated by the stars, by reading the super subtle patterns of ocean swells, by watching for clouds that gather over distant land, and by following the flight paths of birds. This was a sophisticated science, all passed down orally from one generation to the next.
And here's the key takeaway. These were not accidents. They weren't just drifting around hoping to bump into an island. The settlement of Polynesia is one of the greatest feats of deliberate, planned exploration in all of human history, and it was all accomplished with knowledge, not instruments.
And of course, when you're talking about knowledge keepers, you absolutely have to mention the Sumerians in Mesopotamia. They're famous for inventing writing, but their intellectual achievements went so much deeper than that.
Besides their cuneiform writing, they developed a base 60 mathematical system. If you've ever wondered why there are 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour, well, you can thank the Sumerians. You use their invention every single day. They also compiled detailed medical texts and created complex law codes, basically laying the intellectual groundwork for so many civilizations that came after them.
So after seeing all these examples from all over the world, it's pretty clear we need to rethink that simple timeline of the past. History isn't a straight, predictable line at all. It's a rich, complex, and often really surprising tapestry.
The picture that starts to emerge is one of just profound ingenuity, and it's rooted so deep in our shared past. From the meticulously planned cities of the Indus Valley, to the water engineering of the Nabataeans, to the oceanic science of the Polynesians, ancient people were solving incredibly complex problems with brilliant and creative solutions.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If these are just the stories we know about, what other marvels, what other forgotten genius from our ancient past is still out there, just waiting to be discovered, buried right beneath our feet?